Hey, what's up everybody, my name is Jose and welcome to my channel where I share my reactions to all news regarding sports. The ultimate goal of mine is to analyze sports while also sharing my thoughts and opinions with others who share a similar passion for sports. The 2022 NFL season begins on September 8th, and each week we will take a look at every respective division in terms of where it has been and where it currently stands. Not only does this give us an opportunity to reflect on its historical significance, but also allows us a chance to take a peek at what this season has in store for us. This week we will take a look at the NFC North as two franchises continue to compete as perennial playoff participants, while the other two have been battling at the bottom of the division in the past few seasons. The current kings of the division, the Green Bay Packers, continue their pursuit in reclaiming the Lombardi Trophy, named after their head coach many years ago. Not too far behind them are the Minnesota Vikings, who continue to remain competitive in an otherwise not so competitive division. The Chicago Bears hope second-year quarterback Justin Fields can develop into the promising star that they hoped he would as they introduce a new defensive scheme under new head coach Matt Eberflus. As for the Detroit Lions, looking to improve from a disappointing 3-13-1 season, they hope to finally end a playoff drought that would see their last playoff victory, 1991. This division would see many moves being made by each team. Some would lose key stars while others would make great additions to their franchises. Beginning with the Detroit Lions, for a franchise that has been unable to amass similar levels of success as its division rivals, it remains one of the most storied franchises in the history of the NFL. With 4 NFL championships that preceded the very first Super Bowl, the Lions are recognized as being the only team Hall of Fame running back Barry Sanders ever competed for. The Lions' last playoff appearance would be in 2016, and since 1962, they have only been able to win one playoff game in the aforementioned year of 1991. With starting quarterback Jared Goff returning to run the offense, he hopes to provide some much-needed veteran experience for a team comprised of mostly young athletes. Last season, Goff contributed over 3,200 yards passing and 19 touchdowns. But since being traded for Matt Stafford, it's fair to say that Detroit looks to stars such as DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson, and the number 2 pick in this year's draft, Aiden Hutchinson, to help carry the weight on their collective shoulders. Swift has had a history of shoulders and groin injuries, but was able to provide over 600 yards rushing and 450 yards receiving, with a total of 7 touchdowns. In his absence, Jamal Williams emerged as a viable threat at the running back position, as he matched Swift's productivity with 600 yards and 3 touchdowns of his own in order to ensure that the run game stays in rhythm. As for their aerial attack, the Lions welcome back Amon-Ra St. Brown for his second season in the NFL, as he provided a season with 5 touchdowns and nearly 1,000 yards. The Lions also welcome DJ Shark Jr., who has 15 touchdowns in his career and hopes to be a vital piece of the passing game this upcoming season. TJ Hawkinson has established himself as one of the most reliable weapons in the NFL and has placed himself among the best tight ends. Some would argue that he is now in place to become the face of the franchise, while others would claim he is already the face of the franchise. But in order to remain competitive in this division, the Lions look to their defense, which needs much improvement. Over the past 6 seasons, the Lions ranked in the bottom 5 in pressure percentage, and in 2001 they ranked 29th, while they were 30th in sacks. It is for that reason they selected Aiden Hutchinson with the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. In 2021, as a Michigan Wolverine, Hutchinson would record 14 sacks, 62 total tackles, while also forcing 2 fumbles and recovering 1 of them. Clearly an example as to why he was being discussed as a potential top pick in this year's draft. The main focus the Lions face is preventing the run, as they allowed the 5th most rushing yards last season, while also giving up 380 yards a game, ranking 2nd overall in the league. As the Lions continue to rebuild, can they gain enough momentum in order to compete with their division foes? Otherwise, they will remain at the bottom of the division, where they have placed last in the previous 4 seasons. In terms of rebuilding, the Chicago Bears are not too far removed from where the Detroit Lions currently stand. Now that the Chicago Bears are fully immersed in the Justin Fields era, they hope they can enjoy a deep playoff run that they have not experienced since reaching the NFC Championship game in 2010. Preparing for his sophomore season in the NFL, Fields is looking to build upon his near 2,000 yards passing season 1 year ago. Although he only competed in 12 games as a starter, Fields has still shown glimpses of what he can contribute to a Chicago team that has sorely needed a facelift from an offensive standpoint. Along with his passing abilities, Fields has proven to be a viable threat on the ground, adding 420 rushing yards and a couple touchdowns as well. Fields' abilities surely diversify this Chicago offense. With no clear number 1 threat at their disposal, the Chicago Bears turn to running back David Montgomery as their primary offensive weapon. With a near 900-yard season a year ago, it may be to Chicago's benefit to now focus on the passing game, as their ability to run the ball is still present. Enter Darnell Mooney, who as a rookie would gain 1,055 yards receiving and 4 trips to the end zone. Hoping to maintain this level of momentum, the Bears will also need to address their defense. Under Matt Nagy as head coach, the Bears went from 12 wins in 2018 to then falling to back-to-back 8-win seasons and then finishing his tenure with only 6 victories. With former Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus assuming the role of head coach, he looks to revamp the Bears defense in a way that would make the 85 Bears proud. While defensive coordinator of the Colts, Eberflus was able to help structure a defense that would rank as one of the top teams in terms of stopping the run. Now with linebacker Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith at his disposal, there may be a chance in replicating a formidable defense against opposing offenses. Although the Bears would lose Pro Bowl star Khalil Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers, Smith would rank 5th in tackles and Quinn 2nd in sacks. As a collective unit, the Bears D also ranked 4th in sacks with 49 to their name, but with the loss of Mack, will they be able to keep up the same level of production? Speaking of maintaining production, the Bears are not the only team in the NFC North to replace their head coach. The Minnesota Vikings hired former LA Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell to fill in for Mike Zimmer. As Vikings head coach, Zimmer and company would earn a regular season of 72 wins, 56 losses, and 1 draw, along with 3 trips to the postseason over the course of his tenure. Although the Vikings' last appearance in the playoffs came in 2019, O'Connell has proven that he is able to handle an offense with multiple stars as seen in LA. With an emerging star in Justin Jefferson, who was able to add 6 touchdowns and over 1,100 yards to their offense, he looks to carry on with his explosive speed as well as playmaking ability. Every rookie needs a veteran to turn to, and what better one for Jefferson, as Adam Thielen has proven to be a quality receiver in this league with 10 tutties of his own last year. 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback Kirk Cousins continues to lead his team as he amassed over 4,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions in the 2021 season. This of course would only lead the Vikings to 8 wins and fall short of making the playoffs. Pro Bowl running back Dalvin Cook also returns as he finished 5th in rushing yards last year, but the only one area that the Vikings appear to require improvement is on the defensive side of the ball. Last season they allowed 253 yards per game, ranking 5th in terms of allowing the most passing yards. As for the rushing defense, they allowed the 7th most yards per game in the league. And finally, the defense surrendered 387 yards per game overall, which would rank 3rd most. But not all news was bad surrounding the Vikings defense, as they ranked 2nd in sacks with 51 by the end of the year. They were also plus 11 as it refers to their turnover differential. Not quite as fearsome as the Vikings' purple people eaters that terrorized the league in the 70s, but Minnesota hopes to tread in that direction heading into 2022. Winners of the division 8 times out of the last 11 seasons, the Green Bay Packers have proven to be a perennial threat in the NFC. With one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL in Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have been able to sustain a level of consistency that would earn them a spot in the playoffs seemingly each year. They have won the NFC North for the past 3 seasons, 2 of those seasons resulting in an appearance in the NFC Championship game. Although they would fall to the San Francisco 49ers and the eventual Super Bowl winners Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the level of productivity Rodgers provided would result in back-to-back MVP seasons. The Green Bay Packers are quite familiar with outstanding quarterbacks as they were led by Hall of Famers Bart Starr and Brett Favre in the past. As Rodgers continues to build his own legacy, he has helped lead the Packers to 10 postseasons out of the last 12 years. The one knock against him is the fact that he has not been in a Super Bowl in the last 11 years, only having 1 ring to his resume. There was quite speculation as to whether or not Rodgers would return to the Packers this past offseason. After a 2021 season that would see Rodgers produce 4,115 passing yards, 10th in the NFL, and 37 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions, there were reports that he would either request a trade or perhaps even retire. However, on March 16th of this year, he would sign a 3-year extension that would replace the final year of his existing contract, resulting in over $150 million, with over $101 million being guaranteed. Rodgers would then become the highest paid player in North American sports history in terms of annual earnings. Although much of the attention was on Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers would lose star wide receiver Davante Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders. In 2021, he produced over 1,500 yards receiving and 11 touchdowns to the Green Bay's offense. Adams was not the only receiver Green Bay would lose, as they would also lose Marquez Valdes-Scantling, thus depleting their receiving core. As a way to combat this, the Packers would sign Sammy Watkins from the Baltimore Ravens, as well as draft 3 wide receivers in this year's draft. They would also pick 2 first-rounders that resulted in a pair of Georgia prospects, a linebacker named Quay Walker and a defensive tackle named Devontae Wyatt, as they were added to the roster and would be paired up with Preston Smith and Jair Alexander. During the last few seasons, it has been clear that the Packers must surround Aaron Rodgers with viable weapons in order to compete at a high level. With the loss of Davante Adams, the Packers are left with wide receivers in Randall Cobb and Allen Lazard, who combined for 13 touchdowns and over 800 yards. Although they have drafted and signed others to the position, it will be difficult to help replace the production Adams put into that offense. With a rushing attack that ranks 18th in the league, it is clear that the Packers rely on their passing game to help dictate their offense. With Adams, they ranked 8th in passing yards, so one would need to keep an eye on those numbers now that he is no longer with them. During the Matt LaFleur era, the Green Bay Packers have earned a record of 39 wins and 10 losses with 3 straight seasons of 13 wins, resulting in 3 straight trips to the postseason, but no trophies to show for it. Although the Packers appear to be the kings of the NFC North, it will be interesting to see how they fare against the best of the NFC Conference. Will Rodgers be able to add another Lombardi to his name, or will he remain just with one, like his predecessor, Brett Favre? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, share it with other sports fans, and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to support my weekly podcast, 2 Beans in a Pod, where every Friday my brother Jared and I discuss topics regarding sports, movies, and just pop culture in general. You can find the link to the podcast down below in the description, on Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Don't forget to comment down below who you think will win the NFC North this season, and as always, my name is Jose, and I'll catch you in the next video.